Welcome to the New Monks. This podcast is dedicated to those of us on the journey of evolution. Through these episodes, we will dive into the lives of individual people and discover what they have learnt and how they have handled their growth. We believe that we all have wisdom to be shared with each other and can learn from listening to each other's stories. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you feel like leaving us a review and sharing the love, that would be greatly appreciated. So this is just a heads up because, there's a lot of information that is coming to light at the moment, and through these episodes, each person is going to share a different side of that for them. Now, this isn't to say that every single thing that is shared here is going to be 100% accurate, It's just not where we are right now. It's just not the case of the unraveling and the disclosures that are being revealed to us. Obviously, things are always changing, and in one moment something can be so real and so true, and the next moment is completely shifted and changed into something else. This is the journey of evolution. This is the journey of ascension that we are going through right now. So this is just an invitation that your discernment is really, really important. As always, as usual, please take what resonates and leave the rest. Thank you. Hi, and welcome back to the New Monks podcast. I am Jay Muller, your host, and today I am having my first catch-up conversation where I'm speaking to someone that I have spoken to previously on this show. And Rebecca was actually one of the first people that I interviewed back in 2018. And she was the fourth person that I spoke to on the podcast. So years have passed now, and here we are having a little catch up on what she's been up to now. She moved country, she set up her own meditation and coaching business as well to support people to find their inner calm and navigate through the different aspects of life. And we just have a little catch up in this episode, speaking on what we've both been dealing with at the moment in the world and how to really navigate all this chaos that has been happening for the past 4 years and is continuing, and how meditation is a really powerful tool. So I hope you enjoy this episode. And if you haven't already, you can check out the previous podcast that we did together, which will be in the description below. And if you haven't already, hit like and subscribe and share this with a friend. Thank you. Yes. Welcome back to the New Monks podcast.
Yay, it's been so long.
I know. You were actually one of the first people that I spoke to. I think it was like the fourth one I did or something.
Yeah. And that was really when I was kind of in this space of, I almost want to say transformation and self-discovery. That was like a very, I was still in it. I mean, we're always in it, but I was really like in that beginning point of wanting to explore myself deeper and discover more things about myself. So that was like, I think 2017 or 18 had to be.
Yeah, maybe 18.
Yeah.
Feels like so long ago. But yeah, definitely those early stages. So this is also the first time that I've had a catch-up conversation with someone on the podcast. Yeah. But I've spoken to other people about it actually, so yeah, maybe it will happen more. But if we can just take a few breaths together and then begin. And then just tell us how you're feeling right now.
Feeling good. Excited. Happy to catch up with you. It's been so long.
Mm.
It's always great when I could see people that I met when I was traveling during that time.
Mm.
So I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. It's really good to catch up as well with you. And I haven't really seen you since then either. And you now living in Croatia. So yeah, what you been up to since we last spoke? I remember last time you were saying you kind of left insurance and
Yeah,
we met at a Buddhist center, right?
yeah.
We were
At
just
Jamyang
exploring
Buddhist
that more.
Centre, and that was really so. It was before I left to travel for an extended period of time. I was working on Wall Street in insurance in the corporate world, and I really didn't. I didn't resonate with the work I was doing. Also, didn't feel connected to myself through the work I was doing. So at some point, I knew I had to leave, and I had took a trip to Croatia, and then I said I want to work on a sailing yacht in Croatia because I was on a holiday sailing there, and then I was also getting into meditation, and I said I want to meditate, but I didn't want to meditate and do a meditation program in New York City. So I decided to
Mm.
quit my job so I could travel, uh, explore other career opportunities like yachting. I wanted to meditate. I did an excellent meditation program in Bali. And then I came across Jamyang Buddhist Centre as like a volunteering opportunity, and I thought it would be the perfect space to continue my meditation practice after the program in Bali. And it proved to be a very special place for that, for my own personal growth and development. And I was traveling for 3 years, going back to Bali every spring. I was in Croatia every summer. And then at some point, I was like, I want to live somewhere and ground down into a
Yes.
place instead of like kind of floating
Mm.
around and almost even discovering myself through travel and through going different places. So at some point, I knew I wanted to live somewhere, and Croatia felt like the most natural place for me to settle. And I've been here now almost 4 years.
Mm. I mean, yeah, I have been there before. It is beautiful. Yeah. And the city as well is really cool. That's where you are, right?
I'm in the capital, Zagreb, and it just feels like a big neighborhood here. I don't think Croatia is for everyone. It just, for me, it feels like my intuition has just brought me here and kind of landed me here, and it feels really good and natural for me to be here. So,
Mm. So I remember you telling me you were going to Bali and doing some stuff there, but yeah, what happened with your like discovery with Buddhism in the end? Was it just did it continue or was that just enough, you know?
well, really, the Buddhist Center served as a place for me to. I took some of the teachings there, and I took with me what resonated and what I really
Yes.
liked. But more, I have a background in yoga philosophies and practices. I mean, they're both very similar in their own ways. So I was really just practicing the meditation I learned in the program in Bali. And after some time, I just continued with my practice. I became very consistent, even outside of the Buddhist center, and even more so when I lived somewhere, because that really gave me a space to just be grounded and continue my practice. And then at some point, I realized that I wanted to teach meditation to others. So I started hosting some workshops here in Zagreb, and then also I did a program training in hypnotherapy, so working with the subconscious
Wow.
mind because I love all things connected with the mind and helping people understand their minds, but also go beyond their mind to connect to a deeper part of themselves and to connect and understand a deeper part of themselves. So I just love this process of working with the mind, connection, self-awareness, and that's really what I'm doing with the meditation practices I do now privately. I also have a program working with the subconscious mind, and also mentoring for self-awareness mentoring, or mindset mentoring, we could call it, and career mentorship. So that's where I'm at now. That's the latest of what I'm doing.
That's so cool. So when you were at Jamyang, was that when you first started meditating, or were you already doing it before?
So I was actually at Jamyang Buddhist Centre twice, 3 months
Yeah.
each time. I went back a second time because I loved it so much, and the space was just so conducive for meditation practices. Um, and that's really, after my program, I had received the tools of how to meditate. Because I feel like a lot of people go into meditation without really understanding the goals or certain
Yeah,
techniques.
totally.
And
Yeah.
if you kind of jump into a meditation, I don't really feel like you'll benefit without preparation. So the practice that I teach one-to-one, there's a preparation involved to prepare your body, to prepare your mind for the deeper stages of meditation. Because a lot of people use these apps, which is great. I think they're great. But there's not really a preparation phase, which only takes about 3 to 5 minutes before you actually start a guided meditation. And this is so crucial for your meditation practice. So,
But was the Buddhist Center your first entry into meditation for you, or
the program in
were you
Bali
kind of
was. And then I just started practicing on my own at the Buddhist Center.
got it? Okay, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think meditation can be quite um, misinterpreted a lot of the time. So yeah, I don't know, it's like important to know what's really happening and why, you know?
Yeah, I mean, depending, I always want to understand where the client is when it comes to meditation, because depending on your level of self-awareness and your own experience with meditation, you'll be at different stages. So I really want to reach the person where they are in their meditation practice. And so that kind of makes a big difference. And then also there's so many misconceptions about meditation, like, sitting down and avoiding your thoughts or clearing your mind. I mean, that's
Yes, exactly.
so, and I would say the most important part is to just come in contact with that stuff and realize it's there, but not to push it away. So
Yeah.
a lot of people go into the practice not really understanding the goals or how to practice.
Yes, yes. And then end up like feeling bad for not getting it or something, you know? So how was this journey for you? Because obviously I feel like you must have come to a choice where you said, I'm definitely not going back to that life. And how did you create this what you're doing now basically?
Oof, how did I create this? I don't know if I created it. I kind of just followed. Like I don't I mean, okay, yes, I'm a co-creator, yes. But I feel like that part of co-creation is where I'm responsible for following the intuitive nudges and guidance. So I would say a bigger part of me feels like I'm living in alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing here, if that makes sense. So it was really just like, because if I would have looked back when I was working in New York City, I would have never been able to see I would have never been able to envision where I am today. I just knew that there were some core values I wanted to experience, there were some experiences that I wanted to have in my profession, and that was connecting to people, helping people connect to them, um, growth and development. Also, I love this feeling of being calm and relaxed and in tune. So, also, I wanted to contribute to the world and make it a better place somehow. So, these things were important to me, but I would have never guessed or even thought it could look like me living in a foreign country as a meditation coach and career mentor. Like I could have never thought about that, like envisioned that.
That's so cool. So when you left to travel, did you already and you left a job and everything, was it clear at that point that, I'm looking to do something else now?
Yes, it was clear to me that it was time for me to just find the work that I really cared about. And I wanted to, that whole time of like travel was a period of growth and development. Because I remember sitting at my desk for so long thinking, like, what am I doing here? Like, this doesn't make sense. I was making 100 grand a year, and I thought, oh, this is it. Like, working in New York City, such a prestigious job, and every year was looking better and better. But I didn't have that internal satisfaction. And I knew at some point I was like, this is not it. Like I have to go. And if like people work like this with this feeling, there was like this inner tension, this outside appearance of like, oh, this is great, but this internal uh, tension that was just like telling me to get out of there. So once I listened to that and quit my job and basically sold everything to travel, I knew that I was entering into a new space of myself, but I would have I didn't know where I was going or what I was doing. I just knew I had to do it and follow what was like I had to follow what was pulling me in a direction I had no idea that was where it was going to take me.
Yeah, trust. Just take the leap of faith.
Yeah, maybe you know how that feels too.
Yeah, definitely. It's just like, I'm going, bye.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh, maybe I didn't have to cash out my life savings. Maybe I could have like did some investments or something, but you live and you learn, and at that point, that was like the only thing that made sense to me. So,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, because it's like it's so strong. It's just like I need to. Do you think there was a lot of other people that you worked with that also had a similar feeling, or not really?
a lot of other people that I
Back
was
then?
working with or
Yeah,
in my office, um, I want to
maybe
say
not.
yes. I do believe that insurance is a job for some people. I do believe that that could like work for them and they love it and they thrive and they feel good. But actually, I feel like a lot of people in the office were not very happy or satisfied.
Exactly.
Maybe like a couple people, but I think you just kind of get stuck. Or conditioned, we could say, to live your life a certain way. And it could be challenging to break out of that. Um, and you're really just throwing yourself into the unknown or to like the mystery of life when you break out of that condition and you don't know what's going to happen. And I think that's very scary for a lot of people. And they'd rather be in comfort than take a risk.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because we hear this story all the time, like people making so much money, but they're not happy, and it's really just like, what's the point? It's just, it's like empty.
Yeah, and especially because I didn't come from a wealthy family. I was the first one in my family to go to college and to get a really high paying job. And to them,
Wow.
they looked at me like, oh, this is great. She's doing so well. But even though that was a perception of success, I didn't feel successful or satisfied. So when I told my family members, even my friends I was leaving, they're like, why? What are you doing? Like, you have a great job, you live in New York City. And a lot of people, I don't think they understood. some people were really supportive and like, wow, that's great. I admire you so much. I could never do that. Which kind of made me sad. I mean, I was also leaving from that space of thinking it wasn't possible to that space of possible. So it
Yes.
kind of made me sad. And well, I was that person to think like it's not possible for them, but only possible for someone else.
Mm. Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, yeah, it's such a I don't know, cultural conditioning. It's like this is the way it's supposed to be, and anyone breaking the mold, it's like what? And I can understand how some people are just like, wow, how do you do that? Because they probably feel like they don't have the courage, maybe, or something. And so many people want to know how as well, you know.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, you talk to a lot more people than I do about maybe people doing things differently. I
Mm.
don't I don't think, I mean, I never went into this knowing exactly what was going to happen or what I was doing. I had
Yeah.
absolutely no idea what I was doing. And even still to this
Mm.
day, sometimes I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but this just feels like where I need to be. And it feels most real and alive for me. Because before it kind of felt like I was living a life that wasn't really me. So,
Mm. Bold, but yeah, it's good. It's good that you are able to cultivate a life that makes more sense for you. Yeah. And yeah, also interesting that you said that some people are like, why are you doing that? Like, doesn't make, but it reminded me, I had a friend who left one of his jobs, and I think he was working in banking, and I remember him telling he got this email from someone he used to work with, and it was just like asking, how did you do it? I want to do it. I want to step away. You know, it's amazing that you managed to do it. You know, and he was really touched by it. But yeah,
yeah, because I
breaking the
think
mold.
sometimes people don't know another way exists, especially when you're kind of living this routine um, life. Not to say that's not right for some people, but when you're just kind of going through the motions of your work and the day, I don't know if you really, I don't know if people really take the time to stop and think about like, is this right for me? Is this like what is this what's like
Mm.
lighting me up? Is this what makes me feel alive?
Yeah,
So,
because
and
yeah.
that's where the meditation was really meaningful for me because it really connected me to that part of myself. I mean, I was already yearning for that part of myself. Like who is she? I want to know who she is because I felt like totally disconnected from myself. And through meditation, I mean, that yearning was so strong, it took me to meditation. And meditation just opened up a whole other world of myself to get to know and to grow into and blossom out in a way that feels really, I mean, it feels very vulnerable as well, but also I feel alive and it feels real and I feel more myself now than I ever did before.
Mm. Amazing. Yeah, I think that is totally all part of it because it's like how much can you really get to know yourself and connect and then like be that as well, you know? And I think the world definitely teaches us to be so disconnected from how we're feeling, everything, and from who we actually are and what purpose we have, you know, or could have.
Well, yeah, and you know the thing, it's like your intuition never shuts off or goes away. It's always there. And even that those 10 years I was in insurance, I had those feelings that were telling me like, Rebecca, you don't belong here. Rebecca, you don't belong here.
Wow.
But I was just like thinking like, oh, but this is it. This is how it works. Like eventually it will feel
Mm-hmm.
right. But eventually it didn't feel right. And then when you meditate, when you really take a moment to pause and reflect and connect, that intuition, that voice or that feeling is just so present within the space of yourself that it's like very right in front of you and no longer can deny what's there. So I think this is another reason why people find meditation difficult, is because you're really confronted with um, your blocks and also
Yeah.
the next steps for your life, which is the space of the unknown. It's more of a space of uncertainty, but there's like so much magic there. But people are afraid of the unknown, and with that comes change. So I think for a lot of people, meditation could feel very, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe you know what I'm talking about, but this, you just notice that inner tension and
Mm-hmm.
those things. It could just comes
Yeah,
up and it's very apparent.
maybe a bit scary because you have to feel, witness, hold space for uncomfortable things. And if you were denying it, there's no escaping.
Yeah.
But I think it's really cool as well that you decide to go traveling and you give yourself time, because I think this is the one thing that so many of us don't have the time, because we go to uni or go to school, then you are in life, you have to get a job, and then you have to pay your rent and everything. So it's like there's no space to actually just think, hey, hang on a minute, what do I want to do? And allow it to like land.
Yeah. That's well, the one thing about, I was traveling a lot when I lived in New York. I was, because I had more money at that point to travel. And when I was traveling, I was meeting a lot of people that were traveling for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. And I'm like, oh my God, people, because in America, in the States, we
Yeah.
travel, and maybe in the UK too, we travel for like a week, 10
Yes.
days.
Yeah. But I know in America the work ethic is also very different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Work first and then everything else next. But I was even at a point in my job where I was taking off extra days and not getting paid. 'Cause
Wow.
because I was just like, I love this traveling and it's so different and it's so new. And then meeting all those
Mm.
people when I was traveling, I was like, I want to do this. Like, I want to travel. And then I really gave that travel meaning in like the self-discovery and exploration. I really gave myself that time to be like, I want to give myself this time so I could really find out, like, what am I doing here? I suffocated myself for so long. And I had always been saving up money too. I didn't know for what. I mean, okay, probably thinking like when I retire when I'm 60. But I had that money there and I was like, this feels really meaningful for me to just take this money
Yeah.
now, give myself a few years. Well, actually, when I left, I told my family, I think I'll be back somewhere between 6 months and 3 years.
Wow.
And then it just kept going and going. And then at the third year, I felt like I had really developed some deep insights about myself. And I felt like it was just less time for exploring and more time for grounding. So, yeah, I don't think everyone has to
Mm.
go out for years and do that. I think you could create spaces of like self exploration and discovery in your own way. So,
Yeah, I mean, but traveling is amazing because I don't know, so much happens there when you just remove yourself from your environment, and I think it reveals so much of who you are just because you're doing that.
yes, yeah.
So was it then when you moved to Croatia then that you thought, oh, I can like offer meditation to other people?
Well, first it started off as private yoga sessions. I was teaching yoga privately. And then after a while, I was like, this feels like too much work. Um, I didn't really, I was kind of, the things I had learned, I was now like, okay, let's see what I could do with this. So I started teaching yoga privately. I was doing some meditation workshops. Every summer, I was still going to the seaside to work on sailing yachts. So this was the main source of my income while I was kind of testing out these different things that I wanted to do. I enrolled in
Mm.
an amazing hypnotherapy program. So I was still kind of going deeper into the space of the mind with these different programs.
Mm.
But then after that, I decided on creating these meditation programs and also hypnotherapy programs. But the other thing about being an entrepreneur or having your own business is I didn't have any background in marketing or
Mm,
like how
yeah.
to sell your services. So I was really just like,
Mm.
oh great, I have this certification now. I'm going to put it out there and like that's it. But no, there's actually a lot more work involved.
Mm. Yeah. I know. I think that's one for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You got any tips there?
So now that
Marketing
I
tips.
like found the things I love, I'm focusing more on the
Mm.
business aspect of it or marketing aspect of it. So I could
Mm.
actually make a living from these things because
Yes.
I just like I feel really happy that I found work that I'm connected to, but now I'm learning the other
Mm. Got
aspects
it.
of
Got it. Got it.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I just love I love it when people just come forward and they're just like, here, this is what I'm doing, you know? And because I think it takes a lot as well to be able to market yourself, to put yourself forward, you know? Like even if you know you're really passionate about it and you know all of that stuff is there still, it's still like, oh,
Yes. Yes. So
yeah.
that's
But I
something.
love seeing it. Yeah, I love the seeing people just like really come through forward shining, you know?
Ugh,
It's cool.
it's been a long journey that
Yeah.
I'm still on, but
Yeah.
every day I learn something new. I actually started a women's entrepreneur group here because I felt really also lonely as a remote worker and entrepreneur.
Mm,
Um, so I created this community to connect with other women who are in the same position because it could be tiring too to kind of like figure stuff out on your own. And I just needed, like, I felt like I needed to be surrounded by other people who were doing the same thing.
yeah, 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 it makes sense. It's amazing when you meet people who it's like, oh yeah, ting 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 ting, click click click.
Yeah.
It's like wow.
And some of them are way be ahead of me. Some of them just started. So we're all at different levels and we can all
That's
learn
cool.
something from
That's
each
really
other.
cool.
So we just had a meeting
Mm,
last night and one of the girls, they're going to give me like two books, one on business and one on mindset. So I'm really excited about it. And I'll meet with her too next week to talk a little bit more about what's working for her business, what isn't. So this kind of
mm,
stuff, I'm like totally obsessed with at the moment.
this is such a good idea, actually. I like it because it's just supporting each other as well.
Yes. Yeah. Because
Yeah,
like I said, it gets lonely. It gets lonely.
yeah. Mm. And so, what happened with you know your friends from back in New York? Did obviously you are in another country now, so do you
Yeah.
still keep
So
in
at
contact
that
or?
point too, a lot of my friends, they were either married, having kids. I was kind of like the last one that it just was not happening. And I remember too when I turned 30, yeah, I think it was right 30. It's like everyone is getting married with kids, and I'm like, what's happening? Like, why isn't this happening for me too? Thinking like it's supposed to happen for me, but for some people it just doesn't happen. And I was one of those, and
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking like, I don't know, it was just like a kind of breakdown. And then I actually left when I was 31. I left New York City, and they're still married. They're still, you know, having families, growing their families. I mean, some of them are having marital problems, but I don't know what it's like to be with someone for 10 plus years. So I can only imagine that would happen. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're still there. I'm not in contact with them as much as before, but we connect every now and then. And with some of them,
Oh,
it
that's
feels like
cool.
we pick up right where we left off, which is a nice feeling.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, just because I know that a lot of the times when we walk on this path and we're really doing the work, sometimes lots of relationships just fall away because it just doesn't, you can't have those conversations really, you know.
Yeah, I don't think I would be able to talk to any of my friends like about starting their own business or
Yeah.
this desire to connect to themselves and like really understand themselves.
Mm.
Maybe for some of them, I feel like a lot of them are going through the motions of just like married life and having kids,
Yeah.
which is fine. Like that's their presence, that's their reality. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we've definitely taken different paths. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I definitely noticed that. And sometimes it would feel like, part of me that is just not being seen because it's just not able to, you know? But then then you make other friends, right? And then it's just like, boom.
yeah. So I've actually met a lot of people here around my age, even younger or older, kind of in a similar circumstance. So I just feel like you find people that are having the same kind of experience as you.
Yeah, I love that. And so how I feel like the past 4 years has been very transformative for a lot of people. How's this process been for you? Because it's just been like turmoil, now this crazy thing that's going on in Palestine, and there's just so much and natural disasters, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so the whole COVID thing, I don't think I was really impacted as many people by COVID. I don't think I was impacted as much by a lot of people because at that time I had just finished traveling and I wanted to stay in a space and kind of go into a cocoon. So for me, it was a different experience. Except after like 6 months, I was like, okay, I need to connect to people, and I was still able to meet people during COVID times and do that in a way, with the mask and all that stuff. I was still able to meet people and make friends. And then COVID didn't have the strongest restrictions here either, so it made it easier to still find community.
That's so
Um,
cool.
and
I didn't
then
know that.
I would say for me, just settling in a foreign place has been, I don't want to say difficult, but challenging experience to reestablish yourself somewhere and find a community and like your people.
Yeah.
And also to starting your own business and growing your business. So those things have been like the main focuses over the last few years. And I'm connected to a really great community now of women entrepreneurs, of international people and local people in Croatia. So that feels so good. That feels really good. Um, I'm still working on growing my business. That I feel like is going to be um, every year it's looking better, but I still feel like it's going to be a journey. I don't feel like it's like next year it's done. I feel like at some moment it'll click where it feels more
Yes.
easy, but right now it
Yes.
still feels, I still feel like a baby in the whole process.
Yeah, I was thinking when you said that about Croatia, I thought, oh, I didn't know that, but actually, I do remember. I remember the president over there. He was very calm about. I remember seeing him saying some things, and yeah, he took a stance.
In regards to what?
Just the lockdowns,
Oh,
or
okay.
all of the
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I didn't feel like, it felt okay for me here. I feel bad for a lot of people that they didn't. I think that's the other thing too, that um, I'm not saying COVID was easier, but I think having this ability to be with yourself
Yes.
would have made that situation a lot easier for people. Um, still a difficult situation. Like, I'm not saying it wasn't, but when I was traveling, I was with myself a lot, alone a lot. And that really, and also meditation practice is, it's a practice connecting to you. So I felt like I was okay with being by myself, and I had developed this comfort by myself. So that could have possibly helped a lot of people prepare for that experience,
Yeah.
maybe, so they could manage it differently. But I mean, after months of being alone, like, okay, you need to get out there and connect to people. So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I definitely resonate with being alone and traveling alone, and just I think for me at the beginning, I was really just really loving and enjoying that part of just being by myself. And I think, to be honest, I've been in that space for a long time. Now I feel like, okay, I'm ready to actually really be around more people and, But yeah, it definitely would help. But what I find so interesting is like you obviously already had some of those foundations. So when it happened, in a way, you had preparation.
Yeah.
So
Another
interesting.
thing with this, I mean, even when these events happen, now with social media, like with this war, it feels very present. Um, Even though it's so far
Yeah.
away, it feels very present in your life. That's
Yeah.
something I'm understanding how to manage better. I feel I'm a very empathic person, so it's I just have to be more aware of what I'm exposing myself to and how often
Mm.
and how I feel, and I still want to be aware of
Yeah.
what's going on in the world, but it could be quite challenging when you're on social media and it's like 1 minute it's fluffy puppies and then the next minute it's some kind of terrible things happening in the world. So I feel like social media has become such a weird place that um, that we're probably all
Yeah.
learning how to manage and navigate.
Yeah, it's wild and it's so true. It's like one person sharing something to the next person is a world apart. And then I know a lot of people feel like, how dare you? Like, how dare you not talk about what's happening at the moment? You know, there's like this funny, strange condemnation. Like, you have to. I find it really strange, to be honest, because it's like, to be honest, people are where they are. You can't force people to do anything, and just because people aren't talking about it doesn't mean they're not seeing it, doesn't mean they're not doing the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like this is where a meditation practice comes into. I feel like, especially when I see stuff online, it just makes me think like how unaware people are, and actually things they say and do have an impact on others. But I just feel like there's not a high level of
Mm.
self-awareness there in order to
Oof.
understand how what they say or do impacts people, and to understand everyone processes things differently and has their own way of
Yes.
managing things. So,
Mm. Yeah, I think that's a really good way of looking at it because it's true. At the end of the day, I feel like there's just so much division, and you're right. Self-awareness is just gonna like clear all of that up.
yeah, because you would also know too, like, at least for me, what comes to me is that if someone is saying something hurtful or um, just where you kind of know, like, it's not really appropriate or
Mm.
useful, we could say like this, but they do it
Useful.
anyways. So for me, it's like in my understanding is that this person probably doesn't have an awareness of that, which, I also, okay, we're all human. We're all going to say things anyways to upset people, whether we are aware or not, just because each person has different triggers and like
Mm.
things that upset their nervous system or set them off. But when something kind of seems, I guess, more obvious, and like what, even when I say that, it's like, what is common sense? What is obvious? But I don't know, you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
get
yeah.
a feeling of like, this person probably doesn't know any better. And it's not like I could even be mad at them or like hate them
Mm.
for that. It's just, I feel bad for them because of that inability to see outside of themselves in like a bigger picture. So yeah,
Mm.
it's challenging. It's challenging.
I mean, yeah, I feel like these are the times. Even back in 2020, it was the same chaos, same thing, you know what I mean? And then the manipulation and the media and everyone running with a different story. But yeah, obviously, I think, like you said, some people can see things a bit more clearly than other people. And you're right, though, but when you see that someone is like, but still, you might think you think seeing things clearly and you might not be.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, where it's like we're human too, you know? So it's like
Yeah.
even our perception sometimes is skewed and it's filtered. And
Mm.
that's why I feel like it's so important to know
Mm.
yourself and be aware
Mm.
of your strengths and your weaknesses. Not that you can know everything, and at least do your best to educate yourself about, I don't
Mm.
know, both sides and
Mm.
just better understand a situation. Because the sad thing with social media too is like this misinformation,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like, what is true? How do you know what's true or not true anymore? So
Yeah.
that's also kind of an uneasy feeling.
Yeah. I think, yeah, what you said about the, yeah, with people seeing it clearly, like you said, you can see that maybe they're stuck within something. So I think from here, it's like the link that's missing is the compassion, because it's like, you know, you're just going to argue with them. And like, what's the point in that? Have compassion. And it's like we're all at different stages. It's the same with the path that we've been on, this journey of self discovery and everything. It's everyone is at a different stage. So it's not really a case, but again, it's like the self awareness. It's not a state of just, condemning people for where they are, because we're all here working through our conditioning.
Yeah. You know what makes me really passionate about meditation too is sometimes when I see stuff online, it really, I'm almost surprised at how much of a majority is not aware, and that like the world really needs meditation and
Yes.
like self
Yes.
understanding. I
Yes.
still can't believe like really that's like I'm
Love.
just like wow, this is almost like it's surprising, and
Mm.
it's like it's almost it's like shocking. It's shocking.
Mm. Mm.
Because I'm assuming that like everyone's like me, you know, everyone's thinking at least kind of in the space of this awareness of
Mm.
others, and like, but no, actually, it's not like that. Everyone is different. So this is even me kind of projecting, let's say, a wider range of self-awareness that is perhaps not there for more people. And then when you see stuff, you're like, oh man, like this majority
Mm.
feels this way about something, and it just
Mm.
it's kind of it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I think the classic thing though with that is that it's like those who know the least speak the loudest. So the people who are doing the reflecting and contemplating out maybe aren't necessarily speaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because the other thing too is you can't, like, if
Yeah.
someone's level of awareness, like, sometimes you just
Yes.
can't reach them and it's not worth it to
Yeah.
go into it. So,
Yeah. 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 And then you get dragged into the same fighting. Yeah.
yeah. So, I think
Mm.
it's trying to find this balance of like, how do I raise the level of awareness, but also protect
Mm.
myself and keep myself balanced? Because there's like
Mm.
a feeling to like do something, but then there's also a feeling to like Yeah. So
So how do you find truth with all this noise, misinformation, disinformation, propaganda? It's wild.
yeah, that's a great question. The first thing that comes to me is just patience, not jumping to conclusions about anything, but just resting in the space of uncertainty to see what comes forward. Because I don't think we know all the answers right away, even the correct answers. Sometimes we just have to wait. I
Mm.
mean, even in my own personal practice, like there's some things like I want to know right now, but it's not possible for me to know those things. It's not time yet, and I have to wait and sit in uncertainty, which is really uncomfortable. It's not easy.
Mm.
But if I jump to a conclusion or just go ahead, then I'm not really working from a place of like truth, you know? So it's almost like you have to sit sometimes in cloudiness or uncertainty and just wait for the
Right.
answers to come.
I think that's a huge one, and because the thing is, once you run away with one thing, then you're on it, and sometimes that clouds everything else. And it's like, wait for the chips to land. Look, see.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Any other things?
Well, it just actually, even saying that now, I'm like, oh, that just reminds me of like being an entrepreneur because you're constantly like testing out new things. You don't know which direction is like, you're kind of sitting in a cloud. And it's not until some time passes later on that you look back and you're like, oh, okay, now I'm over here. Before I was there. So
Mm.
this is probably like a theme of life of just developing patience to make better choices.
Mm. Yeah. For me, I think one of the big things is discernment. But this word is like, I think it might mean different things to different people. Like, what does it actually mean?
I love discernment, and it's part of the meditation practice I teach is this ability to the ability to judge well. This is discernment, the ability to judge well. I mean, we all have our initial judgments that we make, but when we pause and take a moment to reflect on those judgments, we could open uh, our awareness to like a bigger picture of things instead of just narrowing it down to something. And then also it just gives us a way to even feel into that judgment to see if that really resonates with us. So because I'm sure you're aware, we just react a lot of the times instead of responding. So I love discernment though. This um, taking a moment to learn how to judge well and judge better.
Mm.
Because I don't think judgment is a bad thing. I love judging, but I love it in the way where it's like we could judge things correctly, or I don't want to say correctly, but we could judge
Yeah.
well. Like I feel like a
Yeah, no,
better
I know.
question to ask yourself is this useful for me, or is this meaningful, or
Oof.
is this empowering me, or is this taking away my power? And
Yes, yes,
that's your ability to judge.
yes. I love that. I mean, the thing about judgment, I think that word as well is very confused because I think I understand when people say it's good to be non-judgmental because the whole that is basically like for you coming from some kind of bias. But I think the way you're describing it is to be able to see things clearly, really.
Well, be able to see your bias, number one, to
Yes,
be able to see your
exactly.
judgments and ask yourself, like, is this judgment actually hurting me or helping me? Because really, throughout
Mm,
your life, perhaps one judgment is going to serve you one day, but the next day it's not. So
mm,
if you could allow a certain fluidity and perspective of usefulness or empowerment, disempowerment to guide your judgments, I feel like this is a
mm,
much better place to sit with because as much as we don't want to judge, we're going to judge. Like
mhm,
if someone were to come here and say, "Oh, I don't judge. I don't do that." It's like, that's not true. Everyone judges. So, number one, be aware of your judgments. And number two, make better judgments
Mm.
based on the present moment in the
Mm.
situation you're in. Because, again, we just have patterns that kind of come through an experience. And when we pause and reflect, then we could say, oh, is this judgment actually, like, is this what's needed for right now? Or do I need to see things differently? So this
Hmm.
is the whole thing about judgment that I kind of gravitate
Mm.
towards.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's huge because that's exactly what happens. People jump on a train and then I don't know. It's like any other thing that comes up and questions the train that they've already jumped on. It's difficult to come in to enter from that point. But yeah, but I think also sometimes when you say something, maybe you say something about someone or a situation. Sometimes some people interpret it as a judgment when actually it's not a judgment. You're not judging someone for doing it. You're just saying that's what they're doing. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like I feel like there's also like a slight difference there. And I feel like the judging part is when you're basically like looking down on someone for doing it or saying, "Oh yeah, but they did that. They're a bad person or something," or they're messy because or whatever, and you're looking down on it. So there's like that part to it as well.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I understand what you're saying with this word judgment. I just feel like it has a
Mm.
bad reputation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah.
I
So
understand what you're
go
saying.
ahead.
No, I understand what you mean as well, because it also can just be the ability to observe.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I do my best not to judge people as like, oh, this person's a good person, this person's a bad person,
Yes.
because in reality, we all do things
Yep.
that is not, that doesn't like shine our best light, right? Like we're just flawed, we're humans. Like, let's be real. So if someone makes a
Yeah.
mistake, I feel like it's a poor judgment on myself to be like, that person is a bad person. The part of me though that does come through is says, that person probably, like, that's the best decision they can make at this time, and
Mm.
probably they're just aware to a certain point and then that's it. So
Exactly. So it's very different, those things.
yeah, because I mean, I don't think to just label someone, okay, behavior, we could label someone because of behavior, but I don't think that's really fair. And like I said,
Yeah.
we're just human, we're flawed, we're going to make mistakes. So
Mm.
I wouldn't want someone to, if I made a mistake, I wouldn't want someone to say, oh, Rebecca, she's a bad person. And then I don't want to do that to other people as well. So
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's a different energy, and it's like how dare they, you know what I mean? And it's also morphed and mixed in with the cancel culture, all of that. You know, they did this, now I'm
yeah.
punishment. Yeah,
So, and I mean, I've even been in circumstances with someone before where I was hurt through an action that they did, and then we lost contact, but later on we reconnected. And that person actually, they improved themselves, and they were doing like kind of on their own growth and development journey to realize they didn't have the tools at that time to um, let's say, communicate what was going on for them.
yeah,
So luckily in a situation like that, sometimes you could sit and wonder like what happened, like I don't understand, and that could just be it. But when that
mm,
person kind of goes through that growing and learning, and then they could come back and tell you, you know what, I just wasn't where you were at, and I couldn't communicate. So that's nice where you could kind of understand, but I don't know if that happens a lot of the times. Most of the time you're just wondering like, why did that person
what
do that?
happened? Yeah,
But that really helped me further kind of feel like, people are just at certain levels of
yes,
awareness and growth. And if someone has
Yes.
the ability to have a conversation with you about how they're feeling and what they're thinking, that's a real high level of, I feel like, maybe maturity, emotional maturity.
Yes.
And if some people don't, because you could spend a lot of time wondering, like, whatever, why did that person do that? And it's really because they don't have these tools to go there. So it's not like
Yeah.
it's ever, because sometimes, at least for me, I was thinking, what did I do wrong, or what, what was it me?
Mm.
I mean, it's a combination of the two, but um, yeah, if people just don't have the ability to meet you and have a conversation, then it's probably something on their end that they're working out on, and it's not personal, if that makes sense. I know I'm probably being really vague.
No, it makes complete sense. I have actually been on that side where I've had to say that to someone years later, like, oh, I realize now that I wasn't able to communicate. But obviously, because then you get to the stage where you can, and then now you can even do it from back then. Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Um,
the part of me that um, knows if, like, because also too, people can only meet you. Yeah, you already know, like, people can only meet you as far as they've come in their journey, and maybe you're here and they're there, or maybe it's even different and you can't go further. So
mm,
yeah, because I know for me, I could
yes.
be thinking a lot of times like, oh, did I do something wrong? Or, but no, I think I need to remember this more too now that I say it out loud.
Yeah, I mean, I like that you've mentioned it, and even with regards to what's happening in the world and on social media and everything, it also applies there, with getting into arguments and battles with people.
Yeah.
Mm,
So again, I just love the meditation practice because it's a pause, it's a reflection, it's a practice of discernment, the ability to judge well, and then giving yourself a choice to move forward in a meaningful way.
mm. So, yes, I like that. Just so with your kind of definition of being able to judge, what is like how do we do it with this what's happening at the moment in the world? Because I feel like that's exactly the point. So I like what you said, patience, just wait. But then when the information comes, then how, even still, how do we are we able to judge it? You know what I mean? Because it's all over the place.
Yeah. Um,
Or how would you?
yeah. Right. Honestly, right now feels like a very difficult time. Like I told you, my dog passed away a couple
Oh
months ago,
yeah.
so that has been challenging, this grieving process. And
Mm.
also, it feels very heavy with what's going on in the world, since it's
Mm-hmm.
very present on social media. So, and I've actually taken myself off of social media for like the last 6 weeks. I haven't really been on
Oh
there, but
really?
I do go on every now and then just to check out what's happening. And
That's a good discipline.
honestly, I'm not really sure how to navigate the situation.
Mm.
Again, I'm working with patients and seeing how things unravel. Um, I do send a lot of blessings and almost, we could even say, prayers for people that are suffering and for people that are in control or that have power to, again, because I believe they're just, people are disconnected from themselves, and then when they're working from that space of disconnection, they're not thinking about the greater whole. So I feel like there's so many pieces to this thing that's happening now that it's like I can't even answer. The only thing I feel like I can do is pray and just hope that people with hard hearts could start to open their hearts again and work from that place of compassion
Mm.
versus I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
blame or hate. I don't know. Like, really, I'm at a loss for words. I don't know how to answer this question. It feels like I'm in a cloud. It almost feels like a nightmare. And I couldn't even imagine what it's like for people actually physically there. Like, because when you see the
I
pictures and
know,
the stuff online, you go there mentally and emotionally
I
and
know,
almost
it's true.
physically, because you can almost feel it in your body when you see that. But to actually be there and living with that
Mm,
24/7, like, I don't know, I just feel
mm.
really like it just feels hard. I don't know how else to say it. If you've developed anything, I would love to hear how you're coping or managing this.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I resonate with a lot of what you've shared, definitely. Um, yeah, I think I appreciated what you said as well at the beginning about just being aware of how much you're viewing, because there's definitely something there with part of that. Obviously, it's really, really, yeah, it can be very, very distressing, very traumatic, just looking, just seeing. I feel like it's affecting all of us. I mean, other than maybe people who aren't necessarily engaging, but it's kind of impossible to do that because as soon as you open the app, it's everywhere, right? So yeah, I think yeah, sending light is definitely a thing I've been doing as well, just to the area. For me, I've also just been trying not to get involved in those conversations that are really divisive because I just think they're not really that helpful. And also remembering the bigger picture of what's happening in the world and why this is happening, because it is really sad. And also just to acknowledge and recognize like they're doing this, like they're literally out here killing people and people are supporting it. That's a level where we have to see that this is where we are. This is how dark it is. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? This is where we are. And then again, like you said, the observation, it's like to see all of it. So I think when we start only being like choosing one type framework to see the world, then we're kind of unable to see more of the picture. So zoom out. And yeah, like why is this happening? And can you see how that darkness is then coming in to the space where now we're all fighting with each other? Like this is not the point. Well, maybe for some people and maybe with people who haven't necessarily got the awareness, but for people who can zoom out and see like how are we now using this as a catalyst to move forward into the direction and the world that we do want to create, because it's important to remember that this is happening so that we can see it, it's happening so that we can acknowledge, so that we can integrate, so that we can decide that we don't want to live like this, you know. That this is not the reality that we want to create. And in some way, I also feel like online, when we're constantly seeing this, it can bring fear, it can bring terror, you know, all this stuff. It's important that we are able to like work with that in our bodies, because if we're vibrating and doing like keeping that in our experience, then that's what we're going to keep creating, you know? So it's really important to see like so much of what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's really hard, Jess. It's like, it's hard. And I think also too, it feels even harder because of my dog more recently passed. So my energy is
Yeah.
already like at a very low level for the past few weeks. Um, so, and then this is just, I feel like I have even less energy to manage it, or it feels even
Mm-mm.
more, it's just, it's hard all around. So,
Yeah.
because I have been grieving for the last few weeks, I've just felt exhausted. So I haven't really, I just kind of lay around most days. I have been getting out. I mean, I'm honoring my grieving process, what feels good, and accepting it and allowing it to unfold. But I do
Mm.
find getting out more now and talking to people and just being surrounded by good people, and
Mm.
even just getting out of my apartment has been good for me. So, and
Mm-hmm.
these little trips I'm traveling on. Sometimes it's hard even just to go about your own normal life when you know that there's so much suffering happening.
I
Like,
know my friend said this to me the other day. She was like, how am I supposed to like have a job during this fall? Like, honestly, this is not okay, this is not normal.
yeah, it's hard. It's so hard. So
Mm.
it's hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild, really. But and I think another part of it as well is like we were speaking about is really just allowing people to be where they are with this process because yeah, I don't know if it's that helpful in trying to force and condemn people saying you should be doing this, you should be doing that. You know, everyone needs to be speaking out. That kind of rhetoric, you know. I don't know how helpful that is. And I guess like the question you asked as well is for me, for the individual as well who's saying that, because I don't know what the energy behind that seems a bit like it's anger and you know, which obviously there's a lot of anger at the moment, naturally.
The thing with meditation too that I really love, I feel like it gives each person this ability to be autonomous and make decisions for themselves. Because I can't imagine just how people are just killing people. I don't know. There's almost it almost feels like there's a sense of brainwashing coming, but that's the
Oh,
conditioning.
totally,
This is the conditioning that we're
totally.
talking about. I mean, it could be on a career level where you're working at a job where you think you should be working and that's it. But you're being
Yeah,
conditioned into that. And then it could go to
yeah.
even more extreme level of what we're seeing
Like,
now.
yeah.
But through that practice of self-observation and asking yourself some questions, you connect to that part of yourself that is going to take you um,
Mm.
away from those things that don't really serve you. And I mean, we all like, I don't even have to say like it's for us, we already know like hurting other people is not like the way, like we know that like, but for these other people, it's like,
I know, but like, say it. I feel like people need to hear this
yeah,
because people are supporting it as well.
yeah. So it's just, it's heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking. So this is where I feel like meditation will save the world.
I love it that you keep bringing it back to meditation. Like, it's just so cool.
Yeah, really. Like I love it. It changed my
Cool.
life. And if you just
Yes.
start asking those questions to yourself and taking on more autonomy,
Mm.
like, yeah,
Mm.
I just feel like a lot of things that are happening now wouldn't be happening. But
Yeah, but again, this is where I feel like that this is the opportunity because it's like, how are we going to get from that place to a higher state of awareness and evolution, you know? Because I think so many people now are in agreement that this is not the way we want to live. And then the crazy thing about it is that, like, if you're living in the countries that are paying for it, you're supporting you like you're each individual is paying for that. If you're paying taxes, do you know what I mean?
I know sometimes as you dig deeper in these things, you find out a lot of things that are like gut wrenching, just make you feel really hopeless, I would say. So
Yes.
again, I go back and forth between like knowing these things, but also keeping myself, because I feel
Yeah.
like there's only so much darkness you could be aware of before you need a break or kind of, I don't know, maybe strengthen even your internal light to understand these darker experiences like this that exist. It's like it's hard. It's hard. It's not easy to know these
Yeah.
things exist in the world, and that's how it's
Yeah.
happening. So
Yes.
yeah, I think it's good to
I
take
think
breaks every now and then
yeah.
from this kind of
Yeah.
not to be like uneducated, but to just take a break
Yes.
from discovering so much stuff. And once you're ready, go back out there
Yeah.
and again, like to bring it to a more physical level, voting matters and protesting and just sharing information. But that's also like even a scary thing at this time because you could die or get killed or I don't know, something could happen to you. So it's like really, I don't know. I guess we just do the best you could um, with these situations, but it's just it almost for me right now it feels really hopeless, and the only thing I could rely on is just praying and this kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like that feels good for me at this point.
Mm.
So
I like what you said about autonomy as well, because I think that's also a big part of it. And yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with not wanting to have this on your feed constantly. And I don't know, some people I think are just like, no, you have to see it, you have to witness it. But like when you have already done that, then what else? Like, do you know what I mean? There isn't really anything that you can do about that, other than the small things that you can start to change as well. You know, like your ability to stop spreading hate and division as well. So the autonomy, that's what I was going to say, thing is also quite an important one. And it's recognizing like your space, your energetic space, and yeah, how much you can handle, how much you can deal with, and knowing like it's okay to, and even I know some people are going to bypass. Some people, that's all they can do, that's all they know. Like, but who is anyone to say that they should be doing anything else? But then just back to the hopeless. Yeah, I think this is part of it as
yeah.
well. I feel like these things are designed in a way to make us feel hopeless, angry, afraid, all of that stuff. And this is why I feel like it's just so important. Again, is like it's also I feel like it's related to autonomy. Is to know that this darkness is here and that you know what is happening is
Mm.
happening, but at the same time really remember that also we are here to bring in the hope, the dreaming, the light, to know that it's not just one, it's the
Mm.
polarity that we're experiencing here. Don't forget that this is also what it's showing us and what it's teaching us. Oh.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for that inspiration. I needed to hear that really, really, because through this process of grieving too, I don't feel as mentally clear
Yes.
when when I'm experiencing high emotional state. I cannot think as clearly, really. So,
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I think it reminds me of in 2020, if anything else was happening in your life, it was just so intense. On top of what was happening in the world, it was just like, oh my God, this is so much. Like, everything was just really intense. And that's a
yeah.
whole other thing, because then you get used to that as well. And then, yeah, you have to be really cautious of what's out there and like what's in here. And then, yeah, maintaining equilibrium. And also, I feel like the other thing is I think some people think that, holding the hope could just be like a state of bypassing. But I don't think it is. Like, I think it's actually really important to do that, especially for people who are drowning in this fear and, afraid. And I think that's it's actually really important. We need to bring more of that in.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking of doing some meditation, like free meditation sessions online, like some love and kindness
Mm,
meditations. I'm thinking of when is a good time for it because I haven't been like actively online putting stuff out there. But this was coming to me, so this is something I might do just to kind of
hmm.
give people a space
Yeah,
to send this light out into the world or to this
yeah.
kind of connect to that feeling of compassion
Yes.
and love
Yes.
and kindness and just put it
Exactly.
out there into the world.
And the thing is,
So, because I feel like we do need to remember that as well,
yes,
for
exactly.
sure.
And the thing is,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
space for all of it, and it is going to be, people are where they are, so they can only be responding from where they are. So, you know, I don't know. I just think I've seen people being like, "Oh, you're not allowed to." It's like, yo, someone needs to lift the vibe up here.
yeah, yeah. I love that. Actually, during COVID in Croatia, there were some earthquakes here too as well, and they interviewed me, and then I just put it out there. I'm going to do a meditation, and actually that because I was really feeling down at that point too when we were in lockdowns, but there was also an earthquake that was challenging. So I did a meditation for a group of people, and it felt really good. So I think that's
Yeah.
something I could like set in motion at some point. I think that will feel good for me too,
Yes.
to just make that space for people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
yeah,
And you know what they say: what you're giving, you're also receiving.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that insight. I love that. I needed to hear that. So thank
Oh,
you.
it's
I loved
okay.
it. Yeah, because it's like sometimes you just feel so lost and hopeless and you're like, what is going on? So
Mm,
I love that to remember like the light too,
yeah.
or to remember the good stuff too, even though that could be hard, but yeah.
It can definitely be hard, and I think that for me, the way to remember is this. Like, I feel like this is the Great Awakening. These structures of evil have been here for centuries. They've just been hidden. Now they're coming into the view, and they're coming into the view so that they can fall. This is their demise. They're clutching on with strings here now, trying to control things here. But now, especially with this situation, it's so freaking obvious. But I feel like it's always obvious. But it's just like, this is so uncalled for. Like, why is this happening? So it's like we're moving into a new age, and that new age is with compassion. It's where we know ourselves as love. It's all of these higher vibrations. But in order for that to happen, the darkness needs to be purged. It needs to be released, and it needs to be purged through all of us. Through That's why it's here. It's on a world stage, but it's affecting all of us. And then we have to do that work to recognize how it may have been coming in through us as well, and then able then like yeah, being able to anchor in the light. But yeah, that's how I see it.
That's a good way to look at it. We need some perspective here,
Yes.
of a higher perspective of what's happening. Because
Yes,
if we
exactly.
stay in the lower levels of this, it could be heavy and dark. So, yeah,
Yeah, man, I love that. And you know what I find as well, the higher perspective is literally just, you can see more because you're like above. So it's
yeah.
just, there's more to be witnessed. Yeah, totally. Yeah, sorry about your dog as well. No.
Yeah, it's been hard. It's been hard. So I've just been taking some time for myself, and
Mm.
that has felt good. Slowly coming back out into the world. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's just, I feel like we all deserve to give ourselves more credit for going through these times, for just being able to deal with it, to be able to look at it, to acknowledge. Yeah,
I'm going to bring it back to meditation again, but
I
um,
love it.
I feel like meditation, without it, without my practice,
Mm.
I feel like the old me probably would have suffered a lot more. I mean,
Yeah.
grieving is a form of suffering for sure. Like it hurts, it's painful. But I'm welcoming this into my life instead of pushing it away or avoiding it.
Yes.
And that actually helps me process it in a more healthy way. And also too where it doesn't last as long as it could if I'm resisting or avoiding. So yeah, that's, if there's one thing I've learned about life, is that there's pain, and then there's also beauty.
Mm-hmm.
There's suffering, and then there's also joy. So I remember thinking when I started meditation, like, oh, it's going to be all rainbow and butterflies, and like I'll have all the answers and solutions, and like that'll be it. My suffering will be done. And it's like, no, you just learn how to live with suffering and develop coping
Yeah.
mechanisms and strategies so it doesn't
Yeah.
stay for so long or consume,
Mm-hmm.
your life more than it could. So that's really, like, I was just thinking about this the other day. It's so hard being human and being vulnerable and fragile and open to the experience of life, which includes death
Mm.
and suffering and every kind of emotion
Mm.
that you could experience, which a lot of them are uncomfortable too, as well as joyful. So
Yeah.
to kind of go through go through this human experience with a sense of awareness and
Yeah.
openness is not easy, but that's what meditation teaches you, to be open to, like, to be open to the whole of experience.
Mm. No, I love that you keep bringing meditation because yeah.
Yeah, because it taught me so much,
Yeah.
where I'm like, and honestly, I tell my clients that you're gonna have so many intuitive insights and realizations just sitting in this space
Yes.
where
Yes.
your awareness is uh, heightening, and you're also seeing the unconscious contents of
Mm.
yourself, to release, to let go, to transform. So it's all just coming up, and you're
Mm.
you're gonna have these realizations. You're gonna have intuitive insights, and then you're gonna see things to let go and
Yeah.
just release.
I,
You're gonna feel emotions that you haven't felt in a long time, and in order for you to progress, like maybe you'll cry for the day, or you'll feel really angry. So just all these things that come with it.
yeah, I feel like it's so amazing. How amazing is that? If you just sit still, it will happen and unfold naturally. It's like you don't even need to do anything. How amazing.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
it definitely gave me a lot as well. And yeah, I appreciate that you keep bringing it back to that because I feel like it's one of those tools that is the bridge, it's the link between, I don't know, it's like, yeah, to get you to the self-awareness. And it's so powerful. It gives you so much.
Yeah, which is why I'm here.
I remember when I saw it, I just thought it's really cool that that's what you're offering because not many people do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't see, like, I didn't even know I could be a private meditation teacher or
Yeah.
coach. Like, I kind of felt like I was making it up. I'm like, who's gonna pay me to meditate and do these kind of things? And I'm like, oh, actually, people will pay me. And probably because of COVID, everyone
Yes.
realized how important mental health and
Yeah.
emotional health
Yeah.
is. So,
But it is, I also
yeah,
feel like it's one of those foundational things. Like, I think some people can be on the spiritual path, but the meditation is gonna make you like not avoid things because you just can't. It's like really solid. It's really really good. Yeah.
yeah. And I remember too, one of my clients asking me, so they're like, I just learned so much about myself, and I keep growing and learning more and more. She's like, when does it stop? And I'm like, well, it doesn't really stop, but what you're also tapping into is, so you're learning about the most physical aspect of yourself to the most subtle. And I would say in the later stages in your meditation practice, it's going to be more of a spiritual practice. You're going to have more spiritual insights into that most subtle, eternal aspect of yourself. So I don't always go there in the beginning with clients because I think a lot of people come to meditation for different reasons. But
Mm,
at the heart or soul of meditation, it is a spiritual practice that connects you to that most eternal part of
mm.
yourself. So,
Love that. I think as you were speaking as well, I was just remembering that's another part of what we're seeing online is just ego, ego, and the meditation as well. It really breaks you through so that you can actually like really connect with your heart and come from that place.
yeah. But you know, the thing about ego, like, I know like ego has a bad reputation and ego has its wants and its desires, but I don't shame ego or not like ego. We just need to be aware
Yeah.
of our ego. And again, it goes back to what are our desires? What are our judgments? What are our likes, our dislikes? What are our strengths and our weaknesses? um, just to not like shame or deny your ego, but to be aware of your ego,
Mhm.
I think is the more, for me at least, the more powerful part of the practice, and to also to work with that sense of yourself, and you could guide it to a higher level of awareness or the next
Mm,
higher state of being.
yeah.
So I never really looked at ego as like the enemy or something to like deny within yourself, but always as something to be aware of and to understand. And it's kind of like this other side of yourself that's always with you. And it's like we just want to understand this part of ourselves so we could work with it,
Hmm.
because again it's gonna have its limitations, it's gonna have its strengths and weaknesses, and we cannot change parts of our ego
Yeah,
overnight.
yeah, totally.
So this is the practice
Yes.
of accepting those parts of yourself that are maybe stubborn or stuck, and it's going to take time. Like that's where the
Mhm.
compassion comes into,
Yes,
you know what,
self-compassion.
this is like this is a part of myself I don't like but I still
Yeah.
love, and how do I work with this part of myself
Mm,
to bring it to that next stage of evolution or um, growth
yeah.
and development. So I like this perspective more when it comes to thinking about the ego.
Yeah, I think it's also just with any negative aspect of self that you then comes into awareness, you have to have self-compassion for it because otherwise it's
Yeah.
counterintuitive, you know?
Otherwise, you're pushing it further into the
Hmm.
shadow side, and there it's not going to get acknowledged. So
Yep.
the practice of meditation is bringing light into the shadow of yourself,
Woo.
or becoming aware of your blind
But
spots.
that, even that sentence, I feel like, yeah, that's also the world at the moment, bringing light into the shadow. Yes. Yes. Because, well, the thing is, the light is already here because that's how you see the shadow. Oh my God, I love it.
When you say that too, it just makes me think of like the light is here, but some people are not aware of it.
Yes.
And that's what meditation does. It makes you aware of the light within yourself.
Oof.
So,
Yes. Yes, totally.
yeah. Yeah, which is it's really heartbreaking when you see all of this stuff, because then you kind of you know intuitively like they're so disconnected from
Mm. That
that
light.
part of
Yeah.
themselves that is
Eternal. Yeah.
the nature of reality, we could say, or the yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love that. And this is the whole point is to know that that is there. It's real and it's true. And everyone has access to it.
Yeah.
I love it. So I'm just gonna, I think you have to shoot off soon. So,
Yes, I will have an appointment
yeah.
soon in a like 10 minutes.
Okay, so yeah, I'll maybe we can end on the light. But,
I love that. I would love that.
uh, actually, I think I did ask you this question before, but I'm gonna ask you again anyway, because you know, maybe you're at a different space, but now. But yeah, what does freedom mean to you?
What's what?
What does freedom mean to you?
Oh, hmm, that's a good question.
Yeah,
Um, Hmm. Freedom. Oh, there's all these like impressions coming forward of what freedom means. But I just, there's something that feels, I guess, most true is this idea of, or this experience of living in alignment with yourself and your values and being able to do those things regardless of your conditioning, of your past impressions. Feels like freedom would be really to live an honest life in tune with yourself, in alignment with yourself. So being able to do the things that you know are important and meaningful, even though perhaps you feel trapped in the past or stuck in some place that doesn't feel like freedom. So that's what's coming to me now. But I'm happy to hear if you have some ideas on what freedom means to you.
You know what I love hearing different people's, perspective on it. Yeah, I don't know. For me, I think, there's something about just being able to express yourself as you are. And I guess that can be interpreted in so many ways and definitely resonates with what you were also saying about being in alignment with, I guess with your calling, your soul.
Yeah, because if I reflect on the past, when I was working that job, there was a sense of freedom there, but I don't think I really felt free. I think I felt more trapped and kind of hidden from myself, if I could say it like this. Now I feel more free and open in myself. Yeah, I really love when you said like being able to express yourself and be yourself feels like freedom.
What is your vision of the new earth and how do you see that unfolding?
Oh, that's a big question. That's a big question. I'm just going to say everyone should meditate. Everyone should meditate and express their real selves or get in tune with themselves. I'm telling you, when you sit in silence, you just connect to something so much bigger than yourselves. So I feel like a lot of this stuff that's happening I just feel like it tells me people are disconnected from themselves. Yeah. I also think too, there's like other ways. I don't think you have to meditate to connect with yourself. I do believe there's other ways too. Like, I'm not saying that's the only way. For me, it's worked and I love it. But I feel like also like being in nature, doing the things that you feel really drawn to and are interested in. I feel like these are self-connecting experiences. So also allowing yourself to take joy or to move forward in the things that bring you real joy and that you feel in tune with. I do believe that these are really beneficial things for the world as well, which is what prompted my career mentorship, like my latest initiative to create a space for people to explore what feels good for them and to pursue that. Because I do feel like that's another kind of like pain that people experience that, yeah. Yeah. I love talking to you so much today. Yeah, my pleasure. It was so nice to catch up with you too. It's been so long. All right, take care. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode and to this podcast. We hope that you can gain many insights through the art of listening. If you haven't already, we would love it if you can follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if that feels right for you. We've also just launched our first online course, Awakening 101, a ninja's guide to navigating your spiritual awakening. which is led by me and is offered via donation. So if you feel called to that, then please dive in. It's available via our website. Thank you.